Good morning. It is the 5th of July. It is Wednesday, and our reading is from James 2:18. Someone might claim, "You have faith and I have action. But how can I see your faith apart from your actions? Instead, I'll show you my faith by putting it into practice in faithful action." Now, there are those who misread James a lot and say James contradicts Paul. Paul teaches you're saved by grace, not of works, and James says you have to have works. The problem is that's not what James is saying. What James is saying is we demonstrate the reality of our salvation by what we do for Christ in his name. Works aren't what save us. That's what the cults teach. That's what some of what claims to be Christianity teaches. That if you don't do this or that, then you're not actually saved. Now, we can't read somebody's heart. Somebody may truly be saved, and for whatever reason, their life does not support that. Now, there are those who say, well, they've lost their salvation because of the way they're behaving. And there's only two truths possible. One, they were never saved in the first place. They just went through the motions. Or two, they're really saved, but they're not being who God's called them to be. And he will either work in their life to bring them around to where they need to be, and that's part of it, really, being conformed to the image of Christ, or he will take them off the table and just set them aside because they're being useless. This goes back to what Paul does talk about. That is the Bema Seat judgment, which is where works are tested: wood, hay, stubble, or gold, silver, or precious stones. In other words, those things that we do for Christ will be rewarded and that we can return those rewards to him. Those that are done out of our own self or will be burned up. But the idea of James is agreeing with Paul. He's just simply saying, here's the demonstration of the reality that somebody is saved. One old cliche, which may be old, but it's very true, and that is, if you are brought up on trial for being a Christian, will there be any evidence to convict? And I hope that our lives have plenty of evidence that we could be convicted of being Christian, because that's who we want to be before the Lord, so that people can see the reality of Christ in our lives by the fact we live out that reality. So Paul and James are in agreement. They're just focusing on two different things: how one is saved and the product of being saved and demonstrating the reality of our salvation. So, hey, it's hump day. Look for opportunities to provide evidence so you can be convicted. And I'll see you again tomorrow.